Welcome back to the Deep Dives. Today, we are putting ourselves through a bit of a physiological boot camp.
We are.
We're tackling the engines that fuel every single jump, sprint, and mile you run.
Mm-hmm.
This is really the masterclass you need, straight out of the IGCSE syllabus, and it's designed to answer a pretty fundamental question in exercise science.
Which is, how does the human machine actually create energy? And, what's the cost of pushing its limits?
Exactly.
Our mission today is to get into the physics of movement. We want to move beyond just simple definitions and into the fascinating mechanics of these energy systems.
Right.
So whether you're studying for an exam or just wondering why a flight of stairs leaves you breathless, it all starts with two very different ways the body makes power.
That's it. If you think about the body as a kind of vehicle, it's like we have two engines.
Okay.
One is built for the long haul. It's clean, super fuel efficient, but it needs a steady supply of oxygen.
And the other one.
And then you've got the nitro-fueled auxiliary engine. It delivers this massive, explosive power instantly, but it makes a huge mess and shuts down really fast.
A perfect analogy. And that's where we have to start. Aerobic versus anaerobic respiration.
That distinction is just.
Yeah.
It's the bedrock of all athletic performance, isn't it?
It dictates everything.
Yep.
From the fuel you use to, like you said, the cleanup required afterwards. So let's start with that long-haul system.
The efficient one.
The efficient one. Aerobic respiration, which literally means energy with oxygen.
Okay, so let's unpack its efficiency. This is the method the body prefers when there's plenty of oxygen around. So what kind of activity are we talking about here?
Anything that's prolonged and submaximal. So think of a marathon runner holding a steady pace.
Or a long cycle.
Or cycling on flat terrain, exactly. The energy release is steady, it's controllable, and it's sustained. The body takes glucose, it combines it with oxygen, and the result is carbon dioxide, water, and, of course, energy.
And those waste products, carbon dioxide and water, they're pretty easy for the body to manage.
Very easy.
But the real insight here isn't just the equation. It's the output, isn't it? I mean, how much bang do you get for your glucose buck?
Ah, that's the deep dive nugget right there. The aerobic process is, frankly, astonishingly efficient. When your body completely breaks down one molecule of glucose using oxygen, you generate around 38 units of ATP.
38. And ATP is adenosine triphosphate, the body's universal energy currency.
It's the cash your muscles spend to contract. So yes, 38, that's a finely tuned machine.
38 ATP, that is a massive return. So now let's contrast that with the explosive engine.
The messy one.
The messy one. Anaerobic respiration, energy without oxygen. This is for the sprinters, the weightlifters.
Absolutely. This system kicks in when the demand for energy is so sudden and so high that your heart and lungs just can't deliver oxygen fast enough to the muscles.
It's a shortcut.
It is fundamentally a shortcut. We're talking short, violent bursts of effort, maybe 10 to 20 seconds, up to about 60 seconds of maximal effort.
And the word equation for this one really shows that shortcut, right? It's just glucose goes directly to lactic acid plus energy.
That's it.
So how much ATP does that explosive shortcut give us? Is it anywhere close to 38s?
Not even close. Because that breakdown of glucose is incomplete, the efficiency just plummets. Anaerobic respiration will typically only yield you 2 ATP molecules per glucose molecule.
Only 2.
Just 2. It's incredibly fast energy, but it is deeply, deeply inefficient. And that's the key trade-off. You get speed, but at the expense of efficiency, and critically, you're generating a painful byproduct.
Lactic acid.
Lactic acid. So that unavoidable consequence is that burning sensation you feel when you've just pushed way too hard. You've just crushed a hill sprint, you've produced all that lactic acid, and now you have to pay the price.
And that price is what we call post-exercise recovery, or as we term it, paying back the debt.
Right.
The lactic acid isn't just waste, it becomes toxic to muscle function when it builds up. It inhibits contractions and causes that burning fatigue. So the body has to clear it out.
It has to, and that clearance process requires oxygen, a lot of oxygen, often more than was even consumed during the exercise itself.
And that leads us to the concept of oxygen debt, though I think it's more commonly called EPOC now by physiologists.
That's right. EPOC, excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. And it's a critical distinction to make.
Because it's not just about the lactic acid, is it?
It's not. That's a common oversimplification. EPOC is excess for a reason. Yes, a huge part of that heavy breathing after a sprint is to supply the oxygen needed to process lactic acid, to convert it back into glucose in the liver.
But there's more to it.
There is. We also need that extra oxygen to restore the body's other immediate fuel reserves.
You're talking about the stored ATP and the creatine phosphate, the CP,
Yeah.
that's already in the muscles.
Correct. Those super fast energy stores are completely wiped out in the first few seconds of a maximal effort. So EPOC oxygen is required to fully replenish those, to basically reload the system for the next burst.
Okay, so recovery isn't just a passive cool down. It's an active metabolic process.
Very active. And the fitter you are, the faster you can pay back that debt and restore all those systems.
Which is why a trained athlete recovers so much quicker.
So much quicker. Their whole system is just more efficient at waste removal.
Okay, now that we get the engines and the debt, let's zoom in on the moment of exercise itself. The short-term, immediate effects. This is what's happening in your body during or right after you exercise.
Yeah.
This is the body's sort of frantic attempt to balance supply and demand.
These are the acute responses, almost emergency responses, really. The second you start exercising, your brain realizes the energy demand has spiked, and it just initiates this cascade of responses.
And it's all about prioritizing two things, right?
Oxygen delivery and temperature control.
Okay, let's start with the central delivery systems. The heart and lungs. Your heart rate spikes immediately. That's obvious. The heart beats faster to pump blood. But why is that so crucial?
It's all about matching that energy demand. Your muscles, when you exercise, can need up to 20 times more oxygen than they do at rest.
20 times. Wow.
Yeah. And the body meets that demand by increasing heart rate and also by increasing stroke volume, so how much blood it pumps per beat.
And at the same time, your breathing rate just goes through the roof.
It gets deeper and faster to maximize the oxygen you take in, and just as importantly, to get rid of all that extra carbon dioxide being produced by the aerobic system.
Okay, and then there's heat. As we're burning all this glucose, most of the energy is actually released as heat.
Okay, about 75% of it, yeah. If the body didn't manage this, we would overheat in minutes.
Which brings us to vasodilation.
Vasodilation, it's the body's cooling system. The blood vessels near your skin's surface get wider.
So more blood flows closer to the surface.
Exactly.
And that's why you get red skin and start sweating. The heat transfers from the blood to the air, and the sweat evaporating cools you down even more.
It's a beautifully simple and effective design. The body's just opened its radiator vent.
But this can lead to some warning signs. If the intensity gets too high, people feel fatigue, of course, but also things like nausea or lightheadedness. Why does my stomach get upset when my legs are the ones working?
It's a direct consequence of the body prioritizing. To get that massive amount of blood and oxygen to your working muscles, the body has to shunt blood flow away from non-essential area.
Like the digestive tract.
Like the digestive tract. That lack of blood flow, maybe combined with a bit of dehydration, can trigger that nauseous feeling. It's your body basically saying, I have stopped all digestion. I'm only focusing on muscle output right now.
That makes so much sense. So we've covered the short-term crisis management. Now let's get to the really rewarding part.
The long game.
The long-term adaptations. The fundamental restructuring of the athlete's machine that happens over months and years of consistent training.
And this is where we see the structural evolution that really improves performance. The body responds to that chronic stress by just rebuilding itself stronger. And that starts with the heart.
The key term here is cardiac hypertrophy. The heart muscle actually gets bigger and stronger. But wait a second. Isn't a bigger heart sometimes a sign of disease? How do we distinguish between a healthy athlete's heart and a pathological one?
That is a crucial question, and it's a common point of confusion. In endurance athletes, we see what's called physiological hypertrophy. This usually means the heart chambers get bigger so they can hold more blood.
Okay.
Pathological hypertrophy, say from high blood pressure, often involves severe wall thickening that actually leaves less room for blood. So one is a stronger, larger pump, the other is a stiff, inefficient pump.
And that stronger, larger pump directly leads to an increased stroke volume.
Exactly. Because the heart muscle is stronger, it can eject way more blood with every single beat.
Which means, for any given effort, like a light jog.
The heart doesn't have to beat nearly as often to supply the oxygen you need.
Which gives us bradycardia, a lower resting heart rate. You hear these stories of elite athletes with resting heart rates down in the 30s.
And it's true. An average adult might be between 60 and 100 beats per minute. A trained endurance athlete can easily be around 40. Their heart is just so efficient, it only needs to beat half as often to keep everything ticking over at rest.
That's saved energy.
Saved energy that's then available when you need to perform at your max.
So all of these heart improvements help with oxygen delivery, but there's another huge adaptation that affects that explosive engine.
Improved lactic acid tolerance.
This is vital for high intensity.
Absolutely. The training doesn't stop you from producing lactic acid, but it changes how your body deals with it. First, the body improves its ability to buffer the acid, to sort of neutralize it chemically.
Right.
And second, the body just gets way better at transporting the lactic acid away from the muscles and even using it as fuel elsewhere.
So the system gets smarter at waste removal. It's not just paying the debt faster. It's building a better waste management system.
Precisely. And this allows the athlete to push their lactate threshold higher. They can work harder for longer before that burn forces them to slow down.
So what does this all mean then? We've sort of taken this complex syllabus material and framed it as a journey.
A journey from that clean 38 ATP aerobic engine
To the messy 2 ATP power of the anaerobic burst. We've seen the body's immediate crisis management, like vasodilation, and the slow burn evolution of cardiac hypertrophy.
The core lesson really is that training is the process of making your body better at handling stress and managing debt.
Exactly.
So for you, the learner, think about this. Imagine a marathon runner and a 100-meter sprinter just after they finish their event.
2 very different athletes.
Totally different. The marathon runner who used the aerobic system is facing fuel exhaustion, muscle damage. The sprinter who used the anaerobic system faces an immense oxygen debt, focused almost entirely on lactic acid removal and reloading those ATP stores. Their recovery profiles are radically different.
Because they used fundamentally different engines.
It always comes back to paying the debt.
Which leaves me with a final thought. If training allows the heart to get structurally stronger and the metabolic system gets better at clearing lactic acid, how much of an athlete's ultimate potential is just genetics? Is it determined by their sheer genetic capacity to clean up that painful byproduct?
It's a great question.
Is the true limit of human performance set not by the force you can generate, but by how quickly your body can clean up the inevitable mess? That's something to consider as you think about the limits of training versus, well, the boundaries of our genetic predisposition. We've given you the knowledge, now go apply it.
See you next time for the next deep dive.